unpredictable, a little bit occasionally harassed almost, particularly if there's a female in estrus. So whilst the male elephant is dominant over the female, in that he's bigger and stronger, the herds themselves are female-led. The decisions are made by the females. Oh boy, you are so beautiful. The real old gentleman of the Kruger National Park. And he could well be 40 years old. Probably a little bit younger than that. But how awesome is this? Dust streaming across the top of his head. And Diana, in Ohio, on the subject of our massive elephant bull, you want to know how heavy an elephant bull can get. The largest specimens, and we don't get the largest elephants here in South Africa, I think the largest one, I was trying to remember what Brent told me. He told me where the largest one was found, and I think it was Tanzania. The largest one was close to 9-10 tons in weight, which is absolutely massive. Now, our elephant bulls probably average out around 6 or so tons, 5 or 6 tons, which is plenty big in this area. Obviously, just like people, you get different genetic strains. That's why in certain parts of Europe, people on average are taller than, say, in other parts of the world. And the same goes for elephants and for lions. The genetics differ from country to country. Our elephant bulls are massive, but the record-breaking ones do not come from South Africa. I just have to show you something, and then I'm going to reposition to get to this elephant bull. Our zebra have no problems about having to go all the way around, and they've just popped out to my right over here. How awesome is that? Heard snorting. I wondered what that was. Hello, zebra. Okay, let's go catch up with our massive Ellie bull. The reason I drove past the lions is not because I don't want to see them. I'd love to see them, and we are going to go back to them. But it's not often that we get an opportunity to spend with a massive elephant bull like this, or it has been a while. And the lions are not going to be going anywhere. They're going to be sleeping for at least another hour or so. So we will go back to them, I promise, for those among you who are solid lion lovers and are disappointed that we're not there. We will come back. Oh, look at these tracks. Absolutely massive. You can see them walking along the road. Tell you what, I'll drive around some of them and we'll come back and we'll have a look at just how big his feet are. But he's about to push over a tree and I want to see if we can be there for it. Okay, I've dodged the track. Oh, where tree's going over. I've got to keep my revs a little bit low. As I said, he's not 100%. Oh, the tree's going though. Okay, boy. Let's stop here, my boy. Can I stop here? Just giving me that casual sideways glance that elephants do. I don't want to scare him. Look at that. It's effortless. He has just pushed over that entire bush willow to get at the roots beneath it, without it even seeming like a struggle. You can see how dry it is. And the sky is white. It really is. It's the brightest. I've never experienced weather like this. I think it's just because I've never experienced a drought like this. It is so unbelievably dry. So he's pushed over the bush willow to get to the root system. And he's now systematically picking and choosing which root he goes for. Look at that, and not all of them are treated the same way. He's obviously clearly looking for something specific. And that's years and years of experience and learning. He would have experienced a drought like this. In 1992, he would have been alive then. And they say elephants have incredible memories, and that seems to be borne out in fact as well. All the evidence seems to suggest that they do have incredible minds and incredible memories. And whenever I see an old gentleman of the bush like this, I always wonder about the things he could tell us if he could talk, what he's experienced throughout his life, where he was born, which part of Kruger he came from. If he came from Kruger at all, of course. Probably, though. If elephants could talk. Now, as of a couple of years ago, the elephant population of the Kruger National Park itself was sitting at around 12 or so thousand individuals. That was one of the last confirmed censuses. It's probably up to around 15,000 now. Now, Jan, you wanted to know if I could tell you roughly what the elephant population of Djuma is. It's so difficult because for an elephant, Djuma is like one bedroom of their house. In fact, not even the bedroom. It's like the walk-in closet of their house in terms of size. It's just one little tiny part of their massive home range. So to tell you exactly how many elephants there are on Djuma is very, very difficult. Sometimes we drive through and there's no elephants. They've all moved off our traverse area, and sometimes we come past and there's 200. Easily 200 wandering about, if not up to 300. So Jan, it's a little bit of a tricky, oh, this is so beautiful. It's a little bit of a tricky question to answer because we don't know exactly. It depends on day to day. If you think of the whole of the Kruger National, actually, let's do it this way. If you think of the whole of the Kruger National Park as being their house and garden, Djuma is actually not even a walk-in closet. It's basically like a tiny little corner of a tiny little room in the back somewhere. And there's lots and lots of elephants. No, like a bedside table. Djuma is roughly the equivalent of a bedside table, of a large. I must say, the simile isn't working out for me as well as I thought it would. But you get the general idea. In terms of the Sabi Sand itself, we're seeing an increase in elephant population, and that's because a lot of the western waterholes along the Kruger National Park boundary have been closed, which means that the nearest water for quite a few elephants is around the Sabi Sand, and that's why I suggested that this could well be a Kruger bull. Although I don't think so. I have this vague feeling I've seen this gentleman before. At some point in my last year of working for Wild Earth and working on Djuma, I have a feeling I've encountered him. Isn't it amazing, by the way, that Taylor knows the same elephant bull that we do? The one with the hole in his ear, that spent some time, put his trunk into Tara Piri's car and lifted Scott's up and gave Brent a run for his money as well. Now, they cover enormous distances. Taylor was working in the southern Sabi Sands, we're in the northern Sabi Sands. We're definitely seeing some really lovely elephant bulls, though. Oh, he's lovely. This is really, really beautiful. Elephant herds are wonderful to spend time with, but there is a different, it's similar, but there's a different emotion that one gets when you sit with a massive elephant bull like this. I don't quite know how to describe it. I think it's their tremendous sense of confidence. You know, the breeding herds are always constantly on alert, constantly looking after the little ones, whereas these old gentlemen ooze this self-assurance and this level of comfort in themselves and their surroundings that I think is actually unmatched. They know that they're the biggest things out here. Isn't it amazing to think that this massive animal managed to sneak up on us He was so close when Dave first heard him. We had not the faintest clue that he was there. And they almost close their eyes in contentment as they devour whatever particular meal they've discovered. Look at his tusks. Really nice comparison there between the slave and the master tusk as it's described. In other words, this elephant is left and right. He's right-handed, sorry. Just like a human being, he uses his right tusk more than his left. The reason I know that is because look how much more worn down the tusk on the right is compared to that of the left. That doesn't mean that he doesn't use his left tusk at all. That's not what it means. It just means that he seems to favor one over the other. So just because you see one more worn down than the other doesn't mean you won't see the elephant using the one. Lovely set of tusks, and the right one is most definitely thicker as well than the one on the left. And covered in mud. I think he's been digging in mud. He's probably been having a wonderful time somewhere at one of the drying up water holes. Hey boy. And Paul has said this old boy seems very well behaved and that he's had a good upbringing. He is very well behaved, isn't he? There's not a malicious sense from him in one little bit. He didn't, even when he was looming over us earlier. The only reason I moved was because it felt clear that we were in his way, and I just wanted to shift us around and get us in a better position. But you're right. And I found that I think if I had to do a statistical analysis of the elephants that have given me a little bit of nonsense, certainly 80% or 90% of them would be males. And no, that's not true. Actually, let's say 80% of them would have been males, and most of them are young. The older bulls, with limited exceptions, and almost always you can usually deduce that they've been in some way badly treated or had a bad experience with a vehicle, and that's why they don't respond well to us. But I would say most of the older bulls that I encounter I think it stems from that sense of confidence that they have, that they're actually quite happy to just ignore you. It's one of the reasons why they can be one of the most wonderful creatures to walk on foot. And of course you don't take that for granted, and you do it exceptionally carefully. But they're often so secure in themselves that they don't see you as a major threat. If you get it right, it is a very, very special experience. Hey, beautiful boy. Lovely. I'm going to stick with him a little while. I can almost see the lions from where I am, so I'm going to keep an eye out on what they're doing, make sure they don't disappear. For now, though, Taylor is still with those lovely lions. Let's head back across to her.
So our wonderful little fluff balls are waking up again. They had a little bit of a siesta just now. I had a little break. But we are still with them, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to stay with them for too much longer, so I did want to just steal you away from Janie just so you could have one more look at these lovely Nkuhuma cubs. And they were all chasing each other's tails just now. Like, look at that one. I mean, biting on Mom's tail, and Mom is not going to be very impressed with those sharp needle-like teeth. I think she's going to get quite upset. That one might get a foot in the face if it's not careful. Oh, look at that one. Heard something. Look, it looks like it's looking straight towards us. Isn't that amazing? It's a star. It wants to be a TV personnel, but you can't. Oh, well, I suppose you are. You're actually very famous. Look at them all sitting on top of each other, all cuddling. Isn't that just so beautiful? And it's so good that all these little cubs are still around and still together. I'm sure, as you've seen over the years, for the viewers who have been watching us for a very, very long time, unfortunately a lot of the cubs don't make it to adulthood. So every day is this new challenge for these little ones as they get older, but it's exciting to see that they're all still here, all 8 of them. I love the way those 3 have their heads lined up. 4 years old and you are watching us. What a fantastic question. So Tula Ann has asked us, do their feet tickle? Do lions' feet tickle when the fly lands on them? I think when they land on the actual pad itself, I don't think they feel it very much. Remember, that foot is so hard and calloused for all the time. However, when the flies land on the hair, they do feel that. You'll see them twitching their bodies every now and then to try and get rid of a fly. You can see that one twitching the ear, with the hairs obviously wiggling around and causing some irritation to them. But they learn to live with these flies. Unfortunately, they don't have insect repellents and fly swatters. Oh well, the only fly swatter they have is their tail. So they rely on that heavily. That's why I think when the little ones chew on mom's tail, they don't appreciate it, because they haven't quite learnt yet how important a tail actually is. This one looks like it's got a piece of elephant dung. No, now it's licking its foot. Hello. Yes, groom away. It's quite interesting to see how they're not always relying on mom to groom them anymore. They're actually well capable of cleaning themselves up. There's one of the older cubs at the back. Wow. Hello, lovely lion. See that? Being nice. Grooming itself. I love the way their little skin wrinkles above their nose when they groom themselves. So now the next interesting thing will be is, will the pride that we're looking at now join up with the other 2 Nkuhuma females and the Birmingham, or will they get up and come this way? I'm sure they're going to have a drink at some point too. I'm sure those females must be thirsty after eating that lovely rotting buffalo carcass yesterday. So maybe they do make their way towards Djuma Pan. So it's always good this evening, keep an eye out on the Djuma cam to have a look, and maybe you get to see them all meeting up in the evening. Oh, I'm just going to stretch and roll. So everybody, I think we're going to have to say goodbye to these Nkuhuma cubs. I know that there are some other rangers that are absolutely desperate to come and see them, and I'd hate to keep this sighting all to ourselves as much as that I'd love to. I think it's only fair to give everybody else a chance. Some people have travelled far and wide to come and visit the Nkuhuma Pride, and obviously I want them to have such a great experience that they keep coming back to wonderful Africa. You know, scratching, having a little scratch. So grab your last screenshots as we have a little, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to get up? Are you going to sit on top of somebody else? Huh? Well, no. Normally they like to plonk on top of each other. I think we're going to have to say goodbye, everybody, to the Nkuhumas for this evening, but I hope you enjoyed that. That was really wonderful. Let's head on back to Jamie. I think it's quite exciting what's going to develop between that big elephant bull and the rest of the Nkuhuma females and the Birmingham male.
I am definitely on my way back to that elephant bull. I actually want to try and get around him way 18 clearings. I thought I'd stop and just show you our beautiful Wahlberg's eagle pair. They are absolutely lovely and too beautiful to drive past without stopping and giving them the appreciation that they deserve. The mating pair, if I had to guess, I think the female on the left, the right, sorry, and the male on the left. Only reason I say that is because female birds of prey are generally a little bit larger than the males. Beautiful, beautiful birds. And the wonderful thing, of course, about these live safaris is that we get to sit and watch them pretty much every day if we want to. If we come past them, they're still here, and that's because just to the right of them, they have their nest. Last year, we never really established, but I don't think they successfully raised a chick. Hopefully this year will be different, and we'll get to see a little juvenile Wahlberg's eagle fluttering about. 2 pale morph Wahlberg's eagles, the first of our summer migrants to arrive, although I believe that Brent saw a steppe eagle not too long ago, so they're also on their way back. Quick opportunity for some lovely screenshots in this afternoon light, which I have to say is glorious. And speaking of our migrants, Laura, yes, I do think the lack of water and the lack of insects, it might not necessarily, no, it will delay the return of a couple of the summer migrants, things like the cuckoos and the kingfishers. The reason I say that is because it won't necessarily delay their return to South Africa, but it might delay their return to the Sabi Sand, or at least the northern Sabi Sand. The reason I say that is I've just recently been to some of the reserves closer to the mountains, and they are not in a much better state, but certain parts of them have had a bit more in the way of rain, which means that in terms of food abundance, they might be slightly better than the birds returning to this area. So they might stick in those areas a little bit longer and not necessarily come straight back to the northern Sabi Sand. But we'll see. There is a massive citizen science project going on where people around South Africa are encouraged to record the return date of migratory birds and the leaving date of migratory birds each and every single year, and each and every single different species, as a way of doing a massive study of the effects of climate change on migratory patterns. That'll be fascinating, but that's the kind of study that will play out over over decades, basically. I'm scared how Ellie's going to go. I'm sorry. I don't want to drag us away from the beautiful eagles. And then we're going to go straight back to those lions, because when I went past them the second time, I noticed that Amber Eyes and the young female are keeping a very, very close eye on that water hole. So there is a chance, as it starts to get a little bit cooler this afternoon, that they're going to think about ambushing one of the animals coming for a drink. And that's why I heard them from Inge's house, although they've shifted slightly now. Inge's house is just through here in the bush there. A little bit hard to see for now. Whoopsie. Sorry, Dave, that was a bit bumpy. Oh, okay, so there we go. Taylor did actually give a view of where Inge's house is earlier on. Okay. So you've got an idea as to why I jumped off. Well, not jumped off. I didn't jump off my bed. I sat up quite rapidly. It just came as a little bit of a surprise. I was so deeply engrossed in my book. Right. Where is our gentleman of the bush gone? There he is. This is going to be so lovely. Oh dear, I hope our gentleman of the bush doesn't end up in Inge's garden. I forgot to shut the gate. Uh-oh. Okay. Slow her down. Shame. And he's also eating the guarri bushes, which don't have very much in the way of nutrients. Hello, boy. Come sit with you. You're beautiful. Not even looking at us. And a big hello to Audrey, who is 12 years old and has raised a very, very good question, which is, how do elephants know where to dig for food? Because we have been watching them over the last few weeks, and actually even the last few months, digging up lots of bulbs and tubers and roots that they want. Now, Audrey, the reason that they know where to dig is almost purely due to their incredible sense of smell, which is quite phenomenal when you think about it, the fact that they can smell things underneath so many layers of soil. And also when you think about all of the stuff that their nose, well, their trunk has to do, it's amazing that they maintain that incredible sense of smell as well. But a sense of smell in an elephant is one of their dominant senses. So that's how they know where to dig. It's also how they know where to dig for water. Although, that being said, I think that there's also a level of reasoning there. Because you look at where elephants dig, they very often, for water, they very often dig either in seep lines, like a treehouse dam, or Philemon's Dip, for example, or they dig at the bend of a river that has dried up, almost like they know that that is where the water would have been at its deepest, and therefore where they will have the best chance of being able to dig up some fresh, clean, clear water. But a lot of that is governed by their sense of smell. He's not eating a guarri bush, just by the way, sorry, it was a spike thorn. So everything can be gauged by his body language. So his tail swishing backwards and forwards, almost like a grandfather clock. Oh, except there, that wasn't like a grandfather clock at all. But that sort of steady motion, one of the big things that immediately tells us that he is completely relaxed with where we are. And then the gentle flaps of the ears every now and again. And then, of course, the fact that he's feeding. Although you've got to be careful with these big old gentlemen, because they have learned all of the tricks of the trade, and so often pretend to eat, or eat and still keep a very, very close eye on you. Hello, boy. Changing it up, shifting around a little bit. So a lot can be gauged by the elephant's tail, and what you might have noticed is as we drove up to him, I'm not sure if you could see or not, but his tail did go very, very still initially, and that's generally a sign that the elephant is watching you and just waiting for you to make the next move and what you are going to do. So it's not aggressive in any way, it's just like their focus has shifted towards you for a moment. And then what often happens is, just like this gentleman, he's gone back to feeding once again and is perfectly relaxed. Hi, boy. He is magnificent. I don't think there's any other word to describe him. There we go. Lou actually spotted that. I didn't see it initially. Just a slight, I don't know if it is a growth or it is a little growth. Well done, Dave. I think it's just a slight, strange growth pattern to his skin. It could be a little growth. They do occasionally get benign cysts or tumours on their trunks and on the rest of their bodies, so that's what that slight protrusion might have been. Oh, look at that. So much history in that eye. How many stories this elephant could tell. We are so very lucky to be able to sit and enjoy moments like this. It's incredibly peaceful. We're not going to play hide and seek again, are we, mister? That's inconvenient. Okay, let's just see how he reacts to the start of the engine. I mean, so far he's been completely relaxed. It's just this gusting wind that occasionally puts them a little bit on edge. He's sniffing now. So Audrey, you were wondering about it. He's looking for something to eat. He picked up something there in his trunk and then he's dropped it again. Oh, he's beautiful. Just concentrating, making sure we don't make him feel trapped between the fence and us or anything like that. Now, Elizabeth, in Singapore, you wanted to know how you can tell or estimate how old an elephant is. And it does get a little bit tricky, and I want to reposition to show you, but I don't want him to feel uncomfortable in any way or pressured between the fence and here. He's still got plenty of space though. So one of the big things to remember is that you cannot gauge an elephant's age on their growth of their tusks. That's because an elephant, it's kind of like human beings' hair color. It's genetic. So some have bigger tusks than others, some grow their tusks faster than others, maybe even like the way people grow their fingernails. So you can't judge an elephant's age by their tusks. You can when they're little. They do generally follow a relatively set growth pattern in terms of height and size. And then after that, it's a matter of looking at their general condition, the size of the elephant, although again, that is genetic. One of the best ways is to look at the temporal region and actually the general skeletal structure of the elephant. See how his temporal area is sunken in between his eye and his ear. Now that happens the older elephants get. Initially in their sort of early stages, in their teenage years, in their 20s, that's quite a nice rounded part of the elephant. And then just like older, oh, this is an amazing view up his eardrum, ear canal, by the way. Sorry, I'm distracted. I don't think I've ever seen quite so far up an elephant's ear. That's amazing. And then the veins behind the ear itself, oh, this is amazing. Sorry, Elizabeth, I got distracted. But that sunken region, once an elephant gets to about 40-45 years old, that dip in the temporal region becomes a little bit more prominent. Oh, look at that. Isn't that amazing? A network of arteries and veins in that ear. And then, of course, the very, very fine capillary network that spreads around it. Here's an interesting thing. I'm not sure if you knew. We always talk about identifying individual elephants by the patterns of rips and tears in their ears, which will be unique to every single elephant, and then their tusks as well, and the shape of their tusks. But there you'd see there's a little rip there that will never heal and will always be an identifying feature. But if you really, really want to scientifically examine an elephant closely and identify if it's the same individual, let's say it's got a new rip in its ear or something, you look at the venation of the ear. In other words, the structure and the layout of the blood vessels. And that will be unique in each and every single elephant, and it will stay that way for its entire life. Just like a whisker spottons of whisker spottons? That's not a word. Whisker spot patterns, lions or leopards, or even just leopard spots or hyena spots. The venation of an elephant's ear is unique and stays the same throughout its life. And so if you are able to closely examine it, and there is a technique to it, you have to learn to do it, you have to practice doing it. Anybody can do it. How incredible is that? I'm going to turn around so that we can watch him feed, and so that poor Dave is able to find a more comfortable position than the one he's in now, since this elephant is right behind the vehicle. I might even go and stand next to that marula tree to give... Oh, no, I'm not moving anywhere. Oh, he's going to do it again. Oh, he's scratching. Oh, I thought you were coming to be naughty, mister. You're just scratching your bottom on the tree. Sorry, Dave, I'm going to stop there. Sorry, mister. I thought he was going to come try sneak up behind us again. He just had an itchy spot behind his ear. I love that shot. Such an iconic scene. Anna, you've been pleasantly optimistic about my height. I want to know where I would come up to if I were to stand next to that elephant. And the answer is no, I wouldn't quite reach his shoulder. If I stood on my shoulders, let's imagine I had an identical twin and I stood on my identical twin's shoulders, then I might stand up to his shoulder. So I would probably come up to... Oh, but I suppose I see what you mean. Do you mean the bend in his leg there? Because that's actually his elbow, not the top of his shoulder. Okay, I can sort of see what you mean. Very good point. I would probably, where would we say, optimistically, Dave, I would probably come up to the bottom of that tusk, where that tusk curves. Is that too optimistic? Am I overestimating my height, ever so slightly? Okay. A head below his tusks. Did we get a good shot of him next to that marula tree? We can try that. What we try and do, Anna, is whenever we have a sort of a set point that an elephant has been standing next to, then I will go and stand next to it myself. And then what viewers will do is they'll screenshot the final result and Photoshop me next to the elephant, and then you get a really, really nice perspective of my size next to the elephant, because it's very difficult to get a sense of scale. So he was standing next to that marula tree. I'm trying to think where would have been the best moment, where would have been the best screenshot. And I think what we'll do, that was about the angle you had. I'm going to go and stand next to the tree to give Anna a good idea, and then if all of you can post your screenshots on #SafariLive on Twitter, I'll get one up on my phone in a moment, and then Anna will get a really good idea about who's been more optimistic about my height, me, or Dave, or you perhaps. Let's go see. He's far enough away now that I can get out of the car, I think. You just make sure he turns away. He's not going to come charging all the way across the clearing to get me, though, although the lions might. I'm joking. I'm keeping my voice down so he doesn't come back to get us, but here you go. There we go. I don't know if you can hear me, Dave, at all. Okay. You got the... Sorry, I didn't want to shout across to all of you and across to Dave, just in case it did disturb him in any way. Not that I was too worried about it, but I also don't know exactly where Taylor's injured buffalo is either. So I'd prefer not to disturb anything, particularly him if he chases the injured buffalo. Right, so there you go. That should have given you a little bit of a perspective as to how tall I would be next to the elephant. And just to give you an even better perspective, I am 5'7". And Kirsty tried to argue very thoroughly with me when I first started working here and said that I was 5'7", and she insisted that I wasn't. I promise you I am. I'm 5'7". I just look shorter for some reason. Okay, I'm going to let our Ellie bull slowly amble on into the distance. I don't think we're going to have a better sighting than we've just had. So please, if you can, Photoshop those pictures together, or whatever it is you do. Work your magic, and let's have a comparison shot of me and the elephant. Now, while I loop back around to those lions, let's head back across to Taylor, find out what her plans are.
I've missed all of you. It's been a while. So myself and Zander just doing a little bumble and just enjoying the tranquility that the bush has to offer this afternoon with the lovely sun. I think let's actually take a moment just to appreciate that sun. Look at it coming through the dead trees. Well, they're not dead. They're just sort of dormant for the moment. But how beautiful is that? Aren't I so spoiled that I get to see something like this every single day? And you know, it's just going to get better and better from here as that sun starts to drop behind or below the horizon. The colors are going to change to pinks and purples. That's when I actually wish for a little bit of cloud cover, a few cirrus clouds in the sky, because they always make for the perfect sunset and enhance the colors. But how special is that? That's a great opportunity. Take a screenshot over there, everybody. What a wonderful screensaver that would make. It's fantastic. I don't often get an opportunity to just always just sit and appreciate the sun, and we've had quite a bit of clouds the last few days. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of the sun. But we're going to carry on. We've actually got a plan, Zander and I. Can you believe it? I'm trying to be organized this afternoon. We're going to go back to our friend, the injured buffalo. So we're making our way there, and we're on Gallagher shortcut at the moment, heading south. And I would love to see what he's got up to. The temperature has dropped significantly. It's nice and cool now. There's it's just warm. Still t-shirt weather. I'm still in shorts, and it is so lovely. So I wonder if he perhaps hasn't maybe got up and moved around slightly. I'm obviously being very optimistic. And sorry, just to very recap quickly, because some of you are probably wondering what injured buffalo am I talking about. This morning, the 2 female lions and the Birmingham male that Jamie was with earlier and that I was with earlier were found, and they were covered in blood. And then afterwards we found this injured buffalo walking around. So we obviously put 2 and 2 together. The lions somehow managed to jump onto the back of the buffalo in an attempt to bring it down, but they were not successful. Whether it was that buffalo bull bucked and bronked around and managed to elude the lions, or the rest of the buffalo herd came back to help and chase off those lions, I'm not sure. None of us saw it, so we can just speculate. And unfortunately, he has got some serious injuries though, and that's where we're heading at the moment, as we're going back that way. And I can't help but glance over to the right and look at that wonderful sunset. I just think that is so amazing. Look at that. I just think that is so spectacular. So we're serpentining along a Gallagher shortcut. I'm going to actually just pick up the pace slightly. This is actually also a very good time to look for leopard. So you'll see my head moving side to side, having a look through the bush just to see if perhaps maybe a leopard has woken up from its slumber and going on a territorial patrol, or maybe even a hunt for food. This is actually the area where we lost Karula last night. She was just slightly to the southeast of me in this big drainage line, and we didn't see any of her tracks coming out of here, so maybe she did get lucky and she actually found something, but nothing just yet. Just so beautiful. Remember, we are live, everybody. Some of you heard me sneezing earlier. If we weren't live, we probably would have cut that out because I sneezed quite a few times. So remember, if you'd like to contact us or send us any messages or any questions, you can either hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you're welcome to email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Right, we're getting closer and closer, but it is taking some time. I keep saying I'm going to speed it up a little bit and then I get distracted. So one of the things Jamie and I were discussing this afternoon before drive on how easy it is to concentrate on the road when you know the roads. Hello, James. James is a regular viewer. I seem to be getting to know him more and more every day, and that's what we love, is to see people who keep watching the show. And James wants to know, how long will the oxpeckers, the red-billed oxpeckers that we saw earlier today, stay on their host after, say, their host has died? So the oxpeckers feeding on ticks. James, that's a fantastic question. I think that is the first time I've ever been asked something like that, and I don't think there is an exact answer. I don't think it's anything like an hour and 20 minutes, you know. I think we can only give a guess. I reckon not very long. I don't know how long those oxpeckers would want to hang around. Obviously those ticks are eventually going to move off as well once the rotting starts to set in. There's not going to be really a flow of blood for the ticks, the parasites, to suck off of the animal. So I'm going to just completely estimate, and if you find an answer, please let me know, because I haven't got a clue. I'm gonna reckon a few hours. I think they may still sit on and peck at the little bits of blood that are coming through. A few hours, and then they'll move off and carry on. But I don't know if you've ever also noticed that oxpeckers don't just stay on one animal for a very long time either. They're constantly jumping around and moving along anyway. So even on a live buffalo, they don't seem to hang around for too long. Oh, quickly, we're going to head to Jamie. She's got stalking lions.
Ah, I think they've just been spotted. I wanted to show you. Oh no, I don't think I have. This Impala is walking straight towards the Lionesses. The Lionesses have gone flat, flat, flat. A little bit away from where we are. A little bit to the right, Dove. They're behind there. There you go. There they are, look. Oh. And I think they've gone back to sleep again. She was in proper crouch and stalk mode, but she has just relaxed once again. She's watching, and so far this Impala has not spotted her. In closing the gap slowly but surely. I think he's seen something, but he's not quite sure exactly what it is he's seen. Has he realized those lions are there? This is very exciting. Oh, my heart rate's just gone up so much. I don't think that Impala realizes that they're there. It's not uncommon to see prey species walking around predators, as long as they're keeping an eye on what they're doing. Alright, Amber Eyes, you definitely look a lot more relaxed than when I first saw you. And it looks as though the male has shifted as well. I can just see his mane poking out of the back there. She is watching the Impala though. She's watching him. Oh, he's getting closer. She's just shifted her position slightly. She's put her back legs under her body so that she can move forward. He still hasn't spotted her. He's looking off in the wrong direction. With the gusting wind, I think he smelt them, but he doesn't know exactly where. And this whole place has been so full of lions that he might not associate it with the immediate danger. She's not as alert and focused as I expected her to be. She was when we first arrived, and I think she's just been spotted. Oh, look at that. Incredible. You don't mess with an impala's eyesight. He's not alarm calling yet. She hasn't moved, so he hasn't quite pinpointed. Oh, there we go. He's realized something's there. In summer, she would definitely have the advantage, but in winter in this clearing, it's just not quite enough cover for her to take them by surprise. Oh, the female's onto him. The male, he's not quite sure. Oh, there we go. Now we've got, I think, the alarm calls. Ah, and Amber Eyes sitting up as if to say, well, I wasn't going to eat you anyway. I wasn't planning on hunting you anyway. Look at that. Look at the proximity of those two animals. Now he's alarm calling. Still not frantically, but he is alert. And now you can imagine, yeah, there you go. There's the alarm call. Imagine the feelings running through his body. He doesn't want to run away because he knows that could trigger a chase. And he feels confident enough with the distance to not be too concerned. Oh, male's got other things on his mind. He's not planning on hunting anything. Now the impala are going off. Oh. One brave soul has snuck forward to see exactly what's going on. He ran away a little bit and then moved forward again. Foiled by Impala's sharp eyesight. I happened to be listening to some of the show yesterday whilst I was in the tent, and Taylor described the sound of Impala alarm calling in the best way I've ever heard any guide describe it ever before. She described it as popcorn that you are making, whether it's in the microwave or in a pot, and how you get one starting to go and then they all start to go pop, 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 pop. And Impala alarm calls are just like that. One goes and then they all start to go. It's such a perfect description. I have established that those are lions, and I'm going to put a little bit more distance between myself and them. And the lions don't look terribly concerned. Lions are opportunists. Oh, except when they're exhausted like this. Lions are opportunists, so despite the fact that the Nkuhumas have just come off a buffalo kill, if that male impala had not seen them, there is no doubt in my mind that if he'd come a little bit closer, she would have gone for it. Especially lionesses, they never pass off the opportunity to hunt. Right, so that was very exciting, right up until the point that they all relaxed again. That being said, I'm going to go and sit with those lions. I want to keep an eye on what they're up to for the last part of the sunset safari. In the meantime, let's jump on board with Taylor and find out where she is, and indeed if she knows where she is.
Jamie, you are hysterical. Yeah, Jamie, I'm hanging around quite close to quarantine so I can find my way back in the dark, because that's the thing I'm worried about most. And I've just passed your big elephant bull too. I have now found the naughtiest creature in the bush, if they just settle down again. Ah, there's one that's perched itself up in this tree. Let's see if we can get this one over here. Hello, you naughty, naughty critter. Can you see that? It's a vervet monkey, everybody. I haven't seen any monkeys since I've been here, and they are definitely characters in the African bush. This looks like quite a youngster. I can't tell you right now. Oh, look at it's about to deposit. How cheeky is that? It's going to the toilet. That's nasty. Now imagine if I was standing underneath that tree. That would have landed straight on top of my head, and I wouldn't have been very happy about that. Now I have some very funny stories to tell you about vervet monkeys because I love storytelling. So all my friends know, and if they're watching, they're going to have a good chuckle because I've told these stories many a times around a campfire with a nice glass of wine in hand. So one of my favorite moments, well, it's funny now. At the time it was not funny. I had just done a river cruise with my guests. I went and I took them on a barge-like type boat for a lovely cruise, and as we were walking up the pathway thinking, what a wonderful morning, how incredible was that, I come back to my cruiser, and the first thing that I see, and I just think to myself, something's not right here. I see this bright orange cloth, microfiber cloth, at the top of a tree. And now I know that that was behind my vehicle seat, and that was the cloth that I used to use to wipe down my cruiser. This monkey, or maybe it was a family of monkeys, they had obviously disappeared. Look at it, being cheeky as normal. Had come through and rummaged through my vehicle. Well, the orange cloth was on top of a tree which I had to climb to get out. They had even bitten chunks out of my steering wheel, and it was a brand new Toyota Land Cruiser as well. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it. My bosses were not very happy with me. Obviously it wasn't my fault. And they had gone through all the guests' bags and pulled out all the little snacks and tissues and all sorts of things that were hanging around and off the vehicle. And the final straw was, like this little one has just done, it deposited wonderful little presents all over my vehicle, and they thought it was hysterical. However, I did not think it was so funny because I had to deal with the smell, and I suppose they didn't think it was funny either as we drove off. But how is this little character? He's so cheeky. Look at him, he's putting on an absolute show for us. Isn't this wonderful? You know, it's not always about the big cats and the big elephants. Sometimes it's really nice just to sit and watch the smaller animals. But how is this monkey? Normally the monkeys are quite nervous of us. They don't usually hang around. This one is very cheeky. Hey, look how agile they are as well. Jumping, no problem, hanging from the branches or balancing. And you are just being fantastic. And there's a few more around. You may see the others popping their heads. Oh, there's another little one. I'm going to reposition. I think we need to change our angle just to, oh no, hang on. I think we've got a good view of those two. Sorry. They're now darting across and away from us. I don't know if you can see them running away. Look at them go. I think Mom has obviously said, leave those nice people alone. Our cousins have harassed her enough over her life. And I must tell you another funny story as well. One last monkey story. So, the last time, my last experience with the vervet monkeys was that I forgot to close all my windows before game drive. Now, rookie error. Everybody that knows anything about the bushes, you know that you keep your windows closed and you keep them closed properly. However, I'd left mine open only about that much. Well, the monkeys came through. There was a monkey we used to call Stompy, because she had lost her tail. She's an old girl. She'd been there for a few years, and she was quite a character. So she had no tail, very easy. She was the naughtiest. She was the ringleader of all the monkeys there. She came through, and apparently one of the other people watched this. And I don't know why they didn't stop her anyway. She was testing all my windows to see. Well, she got lucky that afternoon. She found one that I had forgotten to close. So of course she went and she tugged and she shook and in she went. And don't know how long she was in there. Well, I came back that evening to get changed for dinner. And we always usually put on a hosting kit when we go back and host our guests. So I went back and I did that, and I opened my room, and what a surprise I got. I was obviously not very happy. Tissues out of the tissue box. I can just imagine her sitting there, ripping them away, scattered all over my room. Everything you can think of. All different types of tablets taken out and popped out of the little packets. I had shampoo and toothpaste squeezed everywhere. It was an absolute disaster. So now I'm obviously very upset, and I don't think this is very funny because I need to get ready. So I thought, let me just tidy up a little bit, and I'm picking up things, and I see a tube of super glue on the ground, and I'm like, okay. Pick it up, and I'm picking up other things, walking around, trying to throw them away. And I don't know if any of you know the sensation that you get when super glue starts to set. It becomes very hot, and I felt this feeling in my hand. And I looked down, and I went, oh no, I'd super glued my fingers to my palm of my hand. This monkey had obviously bitten into the tube of super glue and gone, I don't like that. And anyway, I got stuck with super glued fingers. However, I did manage to get them apart. I didn't need to go to a doctor or anything like that. It was sore, but yes, a lesson learned. Don't leave your windows open when you're in the bush. And the monkeys have gone, and I hope you enjoyed my monkey tales. We're just going to quickly go around the corner. I actually want to get one more look at that sunset in the distance. And then we're also looking for our friend the buffalo, who we are not too far away from. But I just want to very quickly show you how unbelievable this is. Look at that. Wowee. And look how quickly it goes down too. Look at that. Oh, isn't that just so special? And you can actually start to see the different colors in the sky. Look at it going. You can almost count how quickly it's disappearing behind the trees. That's fantastic. So this afternoon it really is a sunset safari that you have joined us on. While we just watch the end of this sun drop below the horizon, I think shoot on over to Jamie and see what those lions are up to.
We have caught up with our lovely lions, and they are not up to much at the moment, having a relatively restful afternoon. It's a beautiful temperature. They've watched the impala slowly walk past. At one point, one of the lionesses thought about focusing on them, and then she relaxed again. It was interesting the way she was watching from underneath our vehicle. There were a couple of impala moving about on the opposite side. It was almost like she was thinking about using the vehicle to hide her approach, since there's not much in the way of cover here. From my perspective, it didn't look as though they were as in the open as they actually are. I think they were slightly hidden behind that bush, and I thought they were more covered up. And it does explain why the impala spotted them as quickly as he did. The male is lying a little way off to the side. I think he's been given one or two hidings this afternoon. He's got that disgruntled look. They're not mating. One of the females, I did ask whether or not there was any sign of them mating, and apparently one of the females did sort of approach him and then gave him a bit of a smack when he got too over-eager. He's sitting off away, looking a little bit disgruntled, slightly windswept. I mean, the wind sweeping through his mane is very, very beautiful. He could actually take out a couple of contracts for shampoo adverts. Look at that. Just ruffling the top of his mane. But other than that, he's doing what male lions, well, all lions, but especially male lions, do best, which is sleeping away. I think that he was responsible, or at least his movement into the female's personal space was responsible for the growling that I heard earlier from the safety of my bedroom. All in all, a peaceful scene, but the lioness is still watching action at the waterhole, just waiting for the potential opportunity. There is an Inyala walking away from the dam. He's a bit tricky for Dave to see. He's right at the back there. Well, that's a little bit more worth the lion's while than an impala, because of course one impala between two lionesses and one male lion is almost not really worth the effort, especially with a male involved. There's Ronald the Rover's house, by the way, canvas bag. For new viewers who don't know who Ronald is, well, you'll have to stay tuned. Ronald is an amazing character. And there, of course, is Voyatella Lodge. Yes, an impala might not be worth exerting oneself on this warm evening, especially because they'll know that the male will come and take most of it. But Nyala Bull, possibly. Just depends upon whether or not he stumbles into their vicinity. Right, quickly, because I know that not all of you have Twitter accounts. Thank you, first of all, very, very much for sending through your... Oopsie. Hold on. I've been told to wait one moment. Not all of you do have Twitter accounts, but there are those of you that were sending through the screenshots there of the wonderful elephant and the comparison in size between myself and the elephant. So a very big thank you to somebody who has tagged me in it but done a marvellous job of photoshopping me. Carrie Michael. Thank you to Carrie Michael, who's done a marvellous job of photoshopping myself with the elephant. So there we go. That is where I would go up to if I were... There we go, that's much nicer.
It's not too far from the tusk.
Not too far from the tusk. Thank you, Dave. Maybe I'm a little bit taller than you think I am. Or not. It's probably about a head shorter than the tusk. That's awesome. Thank you very, very much for that. And there you go. A size comparison. That's also the coolest picture in the world because it makes me look ridiculously cool. I'll use that for my new cover photo. Deceptive. It looks like I'm being very, very naughty in the bush. That's so cool. Okay, I'm going to stop looking at that now and pop it down. Carrie, may I please use that as my cover photo? Or is that a little bit naughty? I hope you wouldn't be offended if I did. Right, back to our lovely lions and away from our beautiful elephant bull, although I must say, spending time with him the afternoon flew by. I couldn't believe it when I realized that we were into the last sort of half an hour of our sunset safari. So who have we got here? Looks like Amber Eyes and the young lioness. The young lioness who just... Did you see that, Dave? She just bit her own back foot. Obviously there was something really itchy there and she just snapped at it like a dog might do. Now there's obviously something irritating her there. I Dream of Africa. Oh, another big yawn. And sorry, before we go into I Dream of Africa's question, just a note. Licking paws and yawning can often be a precursor to the big cats getting up. Especially if they lick their front paws. I think this back paw is just irritating her a little bit. So there is a chance that these lions could get moving before the end of the sunset safari. Now, I Dream of Africa, of course, we're looking at the two females, I think. I know we're looking at Amber Eyes, who doesn't have cubs, and I think it's the youngest female as well, who also doesn't have cubs. And you wanted to know whether or not they would fall pregnant or not, out of fear that the older cubs might hurt their new cubs, boisterously playing with them or something similar. The answer is they absolutely could be pregnant already. We could be anticipating new little lion cubs in the next 2 or so months. It'll be impossible for us to tell right up until the end. It's only in the last 2 weeks or so that it becomes really clear that a lioness is pregnant. Or maybe if we're looking closely, the last month. I think that they could fall pregnant. I don't think that they would... I don't think there's any recorded cases of lionesses being concerned about the safety of their cubs. Yes, definitely there is a tendency towards synchronizing estrus cycles so that the females allosuckle, but it doesn't always work out, particularly when you've got quite a few members of a pride, and of course not every mating is successful. What they will do though, because you are absolutely right, older cubs can injure younger cubs, what they will do is hide the cubs away for 6 weeks, if not longer, until they think that the cubs are strong enough to handle the boisterous games of the older cubs. And there are cases where lionesses have introduced their cubs too soon to a pride with pre-existing lion cubs, and the older lion cubs have actually accidentally killed their younger cousins. We've seen how our lion cubs play with each other. Now imagine them double or triple that size, which they will be in the next they'll be at least double the size in the next 2 months. And imagine them playing roughly with a tiny, tiny little cub. You'll understand how much damage they could do. But the mom's almost always there to defend them. And I know you enjoyed that incredible sighting while I was on leave, where the youngest set of cubs was introduced to the rest of the pride, and you saw how watchful Mom was. Oh, beautiful show of teeth. Oh, we're going to send you over to Taylor, because she has, I'm not sure if I misheard this or not, a special Francolin.
I'm sure some of you are thinking, what is a special Francolin? So everybody, this may be a new bird for some of you. This is a Coqui Francolin. But it's quite nice because we actually have a family over here. We've got mom and we've got dad, and we even had a little juvenile, which is quite exciting to see. I don't know where the others have gone now. I'm trying to find them. Sandra's doing a fantastic job on trying to relocate the rest of them. Ah, they're behind the elephant dung. Just to the left. They are there somewhere. I saw the others there. So that one over there that you're looking at, that looks like the male. You see how his head is quite yellow. Now the female has... Oh, listen, listen. Look at that. And that's very typical, that the birds will do one last call just before the sun sets. And that's the male, like I said. The female's got a little bit more white on her face and sort of a few more black markings. The male has got that tawny coloured head. And they were feeding their chick as well. They were picking out some termites a little bit earlier. But that's amazing. You don't often get to see Coqui Francolins. I think I can count on my hands. I think I've seen this, probably the 6th time I've ever seen a Coqui Francolin before. And to see a family is fantastic. So I'm so sorry for stealing you away from Jamie. But this was just too special to let go. Where did the rest of them go? And we've also found our friend the buffalo, who you can see in the distance. There he is. Can you see that strange figure at the back? That is our friend, the very injured buffalo. And he hasn't really moved much. Sandra and I have decided that he's just turned around and that's it. And he's not looking too good. He had his head flat on the ground, though I see he's looking around now, but possibly because it's getting a little bit darker, I'm sure he's feeling very weary and very vulnerable. Oh, that was amazing to see those Coqui Francolin and to even see them calling. That's incredible. I've only ever heard their call, so that was the first time for me to actually be able to sit and watch one calling right on your screen. So I hope you managed to get some great shots. I was too engrossed in that sighting to even pick up my camera and take a picture of that special Francolin. So I hope you're all hashtagging Safari Live, and I look forward to seeing some of those photos a little bit later, those screenshots that hopefully some of you managed to take a little bit later. And now I want to turn your attention to the moon. Have a look at this. Just look how beautiful this is. How incredible is that? It's almost a full moon. I can almost see the Easter bunny in the moon. My mom always taught me it wasn't the man in the moon, it was the Easter bunny. How incredible is that? You can even see some of the craters. Wow, it's so beautiful. We have been so fortunate this evening. We've been blessed with lions. We've been blessed with an unbelievable sunset. And now look at this moon as it's rising over the quarantine plains. Hopefully this buffalo is going to have a little bit of luck tonight. At least he'll maybe be able to see things that are coming towards him and hopefully be warned before the lions make their approach. Well, I'm being a bit optimistic. I'm hoping that those lions that Jamie's got moves on behind us and does find this buffalo. I think in a way it'll actually be better for him just to put him out of his misery, because it's never nice to see animals suffering, and he definitely isn't on the happy side. I think let's have one last look at our friend the buffalo. Maybe it's the last time that we see him alive. But it is very difficult to try and see him through all those trees. He's moved into an even more tricky position. But there he sits. His head is still up. Actually, let me go back a little bit. Let me go do a little bit of a reverse. Yeah, Rusty in reverse. We had an original spot through there. Is that okay? We've got to say, just communicating as to where we think we should go. And I can see him in the distance. We're going to zoom in now. It's a little bit better. So you can see he's got his head raised. You can't see any of the wounds on him now, obviously, with all the leaves obstructing him. But we are definitely going to follow up on him in the morning and see how he is doing. I'd be quite happy to find a few lions or even some hyenas attached to his rump. It's so peaceful now, not even the birds are talking anymore. The hardy-dars let off one last shout in the distance, and it's absolutely quiet. Good evening, Aaron. So Aaron wants to know if I've got a favorite nocturnal animal. I'm quite a twitcher. I enjoy the birds, so I have to say owls, any of the owls, particularly, which is my favorite owl? I think I like the Vervet, the giant eagle owl. They're quite impressive. Their size is just magnificent. Mammals, what is my favorite nocturnal mammal? I'm gonna have to go with the aardvark, the ant bear. If some of you don't know what that is, it's a strange pig-like looking creature. Actually, I think I'm going to find you a photo. Let me have a look for a photo. Ah, that was incredible. I opened it up on the exact page. Can you see that? That is what an aardvark looks like. So aardvark is an interesting creature. So it means ant bear or earth pig is the direct translation. But just quickly, can you have a look at his long sticky tongue? I actually don't know if this is a male or not. Look at that long tongue over there. Now, and he's even a little termite mound that is drawn in this book. How hysterical is that? So that's what that aardvark will use. He'll use that long sticky tongue after it's dug with those big claws into a termite mound, and then it will lap them up with that. So that is probably my favorite mammal, and they are very, very difficult to see, and it's obviously one of the creatures that we're always looking for. This crepuscular period, this last bit of light that we're experiencing at the moment, it's actually the best time to see them. All the diurnal animals, the daytime animals, are now going to rest, and all the nighttime creatures are on their way out. We heard it. We heard that Coqui Francolin giving one last shout, and we haven't heard him say anything else, and we'll probably only hear him in the morning again. That was really beautiful. It's been such a wonderful day. I've absolutely enjoyed every single minute of it. The only thing that could have been better is that I was hoping to find a herd of elephants. I've been searching for a herd of elephants now for 3 drives, and I haven't found them, and I'm itching to get my daily dose of elephants. I absolutely love them. But let's take a little bumble. We're going to bring the spotlight out in a moment. I don't know how well it's going to work. Oh, not yet. It's not time yet. Hello, Gracie. Gracie is our #1 fan, everybody. So please send some shout outs to Gracie. Gracie wants to know how to spell my name. Gracie, so it's a strange way to spell it. It's not like how you would spell Taylor Swift's name. You spell my name Tayla. Different spelling. So in South Africa, I get called all sorts of interesting names. It was sort of my pet hate growing up at school. Everyone used to call me Tyler. But it's not Tyler, it's Taylor, in fact. And I'm so glad that you're enjoying my stories. I've got lots and lots of stories, and every day I'm coming up, and well, not coming up because my stories are all true, but I'm seeing new things that I add to my story journal. Maybe one day I'll have enough stories to put together to create, maybe try and do them quite funny and make a little book or something like that, just for some friends and family. They always enjoy hearing my stories. Right, everybody? So it's that time of the evening where I'm going to say goodbye to you all, and thank you so much for today. Like I said, it's been absolutely fantastic. The wind has calmed down. Everything is just perfect this evening. So once again, thank you so much, Zander, for being behind camera and helping me when we navigated. We didn't get lost. Zander's also new, so we're both learning the reserve together. So, cheerio, and I'll see you all bright and early for our sunrise safari.
And what a marvelous sunset safari it has been. Thoroughly enjoyable, and a perfect way to finish off then with our sleepy lions, although one slightly more awake. Oh no, I spoke too soon. One was slightly more awake than the other. She's now a little bit asleep, and we'll have to wait for tomorrow morning to arrive to find out what the end of the story, or at least I think it will probably be the end of the story for that poor buffalo on quarantine clearings. We're about, if I understand correctly exactly where he is, we're probably about 700 or so odd yards from his position with these lions. And if they don't find him, perhaps the hyenas might. Either way, I hope that he either heals up and stands up quickly, or that his suffering isn't terribly prolonged. Girls? But we will have to wait until the sunrise safari until we find out. Just by the way, in case you hear some happy music this evening on the Djuma Dam camera, because I can hear them now, that is because one very happy couple just got engaged. Not me, just to clarify. The happy couple staying at one of the lodges. Just to clarify, the party that may well be happening this evening, that is what has been going on. I hope they've enjoyed their view that they've had. They haven't moved from the veranda, and they've had a view of lions, and a massive bull elephant, and a whole host of zebra and impala and nyala. I think it must have been a very pleasant way to spend an afternoon. Amber Eye's giving herself a couple of smoothing, grooming licks. No decision as to whether or not she's going to hop up just yet. And I did say that this is what lions do best, which is sleeping. And Hein, you want to know how many hours lions sleep in the day. It can be up to 20, even 22 hours a day, if they feed, let's say they've got a big meal like a buffalo carcass. That being said, it's probably more along the lines of around maybe 12 to 14. As night falls, these lionesses will get up and start moving. They might catnap still throughout the night, believe it or not, but for the most part, lions are primarily nocturnal movers. And they walk enormous distances. I mean, I'm jokingly saying that they are champion sleepers, but that Birmingham boy walked from Cheetah Plains at some point last night, covered enormous distance in probably just the space of a few hours. So it's not that I'm calling them lazy. I know that when they want to, they can be incredibly active. He probably walked about 20 kilometers last night, which is more than most of us walk, on your average day. Our lionesses are going to snooze away for another few minutes, I imagine, before deciding to move up and head out hunting. Already their rapid digestive process is making them desirous of their next meal, and we'll have to wait until the sunrise safari tomorrow morning to find out if they are successful. In the meantime, we have reached the end of our sunset safari, and unfortunately it has flown by this afternoon. It's time to do our goodbyes and thank yous. So a big thank you to Dave on camera, who's done a marvellous job as he always does. Nice to be out, Dave.
Yeah.
As well as to Lou and Rebecca and Jerry in Final Control, and most importantly, a big thank you to all of you watching across the globe, and thank you to those of you who sent through screenshots. I know lots and lots of you did. We'll catch up with you tomorrow morning. Have a marvellous day wherever you are, and we'll see you then.